we've had a pretty big story just happen in Romania, and there's not many people talking about it, even though technically this is a very dangerous situation and could lead to more danger in the future if instances like this repeat. And I think that's part of the reason why the Romanian government at first denied it. So recently, it was about 2 days ago, there was a drone attack across much of Ukraine, and part of that drone attack was in the Odessa area. I think it would make sense to pull up a map here to show you where we're talking about. The Odessa area is right next to Romania. Here is Odessa over here. It's down this way, right here. This is Odessa. This is Romania. This is Odessa. This is Romania.
Neptune gifted 3 Tier 1 subscriptions. Dylan, when are you going to address the real news about how the gamer industry has fallen to pronouns?
I actually covered that yesterday. I will probably release that on the channel in the next 48 hours. I did react to that. I did react to the Starfield stuff. And it was very, very funny. And that will be released on the second channel. But I actually covered that yesterday. And the VOD's already published if you want to watch it. Thank you so much for the 3 gifted Tier 1 subs, Blue Rider. I appreciate it. Anyway, there was a drone attack in this area, in the Odessa area. And apparently, the Ukrainian government came out with a statement saying that it crossed the border and then crashed into Romania, into an open field. It didn't kill anybody. It didn't hurt anybody. Thank the Lord, nobody died and nobody got hurt. But the Russian drone was, according to witnesses, shot down by anti-air fire and then crashed into Romania. That's what the Ukrainian government said. Problem is, Romania, after the Ukrainian government came forward with the statement, came out with a statement denying it. Romanian Defense Ministry has categorically denied a Ukrainian Foreign Ministry claim that at least one Russian drone launched during an overnight attack on Ukrainian port fell and detonated on Romanian territory. Kiev said on September 4th that Russia launched the airstrike on the Ukrainian port infrastructure, and one of the drones hit across the Danube River in the territory of NATO member Romania. The Romanian Foreign Ministry, however, said the information released by Ukraine was fake. The Ministry of National Defense categorically denies information from the public space regarding a so-called situation that occurred during the night of September 3 to September 4th, in which the Russian drone allegedly fell on the national territory of Romania. At no time did the means of attack used by the Russian Federation generate direct military threats to the national territory or the territorial waters of Romania. Wow, that's a pretty big denial. That's direct. At no times did the means of attack used by the Russian Federation generate direct military threats to the national territory or the territorial waters of Romania. Now, I can understand why Romania, if this didn't happen, would want to be quick to deny this. As many of you know, there is something called Article 5, which is in the NATO treaty. NATO member states, which Romania is a NATO member state, have something called collective defense. If one nation state is attacked, they can trigger Article 5 and then use it to get other NATO member states to join them in a war of defense against invasion or attack. So hypothetically, let's say Russia dropped a bomb and it killed like 100 people in some Romanian school or something along those lines. Romania could attempt to trigger Article 5, whether or not it 100% works or not, we don't know for sure, like whether or not people would respect it. They are supposed to, but of course, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go along with it. But let's say, since if we listen to the rhetoric that NATO, like Jens Stoltenberg and many NATO member states put out, that they say they go out and they respect Article 5 as the treaty was intended, and then they go and join the war against Russia. And now you've got a war between NATO, Russia, and it's a massive continental war in Europe. It's already the largest war in Europe since World War II. Now it might be even larger. At least when it comes to Europe and possibly other powers that can get involved. Who knows how it would go? Probably wouldn't be larger. I don't think it would be a particularly extremely long war. I don't know exactly how it would go. I'm not a military strategist. I'm getting off topic. Point is, Article 5 could be triggered if Romania was attacked. And so having a Russian drone enter Romanian territory and strike would be a massive, massive story. But the Romanian government denied it. And so many people, even though the Ukrainians put this forward, thought this would be the end of it. It wasn't. Now, the Ukrainians weren't too happy with being called liars. And so other people online wanted to find out, well, are the Ukrainians lying? Are the Romanians telling the truth? And they started doing some digging. One example of this digging and this open source type of investigation was done by GeoConfirmed. Now, GeoConfirmed, in my opinion, is a very reliable source. What this account does is it works with a bunch of OSCENT guys, a bunch of people who collect open source intel to try to find out where different strikes and things that have happened in this war have occurred. So, for example, let's say that there's a drone strike in, say, Odessa. They're going to go and try to find out where exactly it happened, maybe what weapon was used, what time it happened. They're going to look at any photos they can get, any videos they can get, any open source intelligence that they can rely on to figure it out. In fact, it was actually a geo-confirmed volunteer that was able to find the coordinates of where we were struck when we were on the shoreline in Kherson and got bombed by the Russian army during aid operations, and even found that video online of the Russians, bombing us and committing that war crime. So geo-confirmed volunteers are pretty serious about this stuff. They take it very seriously. And they did a little investigation into this, and what they found was pretty interesting, and I mean, it kind of goes in the face of the theory or of the narrative that the Romanians were pushing forward. In the early morning of September 4th, a Russian Shahed crashed and exploded inside Romania NATO
Flemmy gifted 2 Tier 1 subscriptions. We actually have an accurate simulation of what a Russia-NATO war would look like.
Well, now that you donated that and gifted 2 Tier 1 subs, okay, I'll stop the segment for a second and we'll go look at it. Okay, what is it? Let's go check it out. I have to check it out now. I don't have a choice. They donated 2 subs. And it already interrupted the segment. So if I don't check it out, it was just a pointless interruption. And we got to have we got to be smooth. Look at this. It's crazy how complex the combined arms operations that America was operating in during the Gulf War. We annihilated the Iraqi army with extremely minimal casualties, with just overwhelming firepower, just constant tank hunting, a complete disabling of basically any air defense the Iraqis could have used to shoot down our planes, the destruction of the Iraqi Air Force. There was nothing they could do, really. It was a complete annihilation. And when you see just how many bombers, how many planes, how many aircraft carriers, how many boats were just decimating the Iraqi military, it's not that surprising how much shock and awe was used to just annihilate the Iraqi army. It's not that surprising. I mean, when you look at the casualties the Iraqi army took and how quickly they were pushed out, it can be quite shocking. But when you see the amount of aircraft used, it's not that shocking anymore. You start to understand how they were able to pull it off so quickly and with such overwhelming destruction. Jesus Christ, look at all those missiles going. Oh my God, oh my Lord. Anyway, yeah, no. The Gulf War was insane. Anyway, back to the segment. I don't know if Danabo's going to edit that out or keep it in. He's probably going to keep it in because he's lazy. The claim, this is them analyzing the claim. In the early morning of September 4th, a Russian Shahed crashed and exploded inside Romania, a NATO member. Russia was attacking a port next to the Romanian border. Our volunteers looked into this, and here is footage of the explosion, which looks like it's on the Romanian side of the border. Thank goodness somebody captured that with their phone, by the way. Other footage of the same incident. It's over the river. Proof it is the same incident. And you can see there's different landmarks in both incidents that show that it's the same one. There, you've got that landmark, and there, you've got that landmark. Geolocation conclusion. Estimated area of the crash, the Romanian side of the river, and then it gives the coordinates. They show a lot more of the specifics that went into geolocating, and they do a lot more of like analysis of this and that. But point is, if you go through the rest of these posts, that it's pretty clear from the video evidence, from the photographic evidence, and from the coordinates of where the strike occurred, that this did occur within Romanian territory, and that the Romanian government was lying. Whether purposefully or otherwise, who knows? But it's hard for me to think that the Romanian government didn't send somebody out to check the strike site before releasing a statement that there was no strike within Romanian territory. It might be, and I don't know whether it is or not, that the Romanian government didn't want to cause an incident that could lead to their people maybe asking them to do more, maybe send even more aid to Ukraine, support them in other ways, or possibly even have some people call for a military response if Romania itself is being struck by Russian drones. So maybe they tried to cover it up and they didn't want to let the public know. Maybe they thought there would be no footage like this that would be published, or photographs like this that would be published. They shouldn't have bet on that. This does make the defense ministry, does make the Romanian government look like a bunch of liars. It makes them not look credible. But whether or not it didn't make them look credible then, they are trying to maybe regain some of that credibility now. And they're coming out and they're announcing that, yes, actually a Russian drone did hit our territory. Oopsie doopsie, we got it wrong. Romania's defense minister has said that remains of a drone used in a Russian attack on a Ukrainian port have been found on Romanian territory. His comments follow 2 days of him and other senior officials categorically denying any cross-border incident. Ukraine has insisted it has evidence of the explosion. Romania's president says the attack, which the defense ministry is investigating, would be a serious violation of Romania's sovereignty. An attack on Romania, which is a member of NATO, would be completely inadmissible, Klaus Ioannis said. On Monday, Ukraine's foreign ministry had reported that Shahed drones fell and detonated in Romania on Sunday night after the latest Russian drone attack on the Ukrainian ports of Izmail. It called the incident further proof of the huge threat posed by Moscow to Ukraine's neighbors. Now, Romania's defense minister, Angel Tivlar, has visited the Delta region close to the border with Ukraine and announced that several pieces of a drone had been found. An investigation is now underway and the fragments are being analyzed to determine whether they came from a Russian weapon. I mean, it was a Shahed drone. It came from a Russian weapon. Rebutting Kyiv's assertions became difficult after Ukraine's foreign minister, Dmytro Kuleba, announced publicly that he had photographic evidence of the incident. He said it was absolutely obvious what had happened, and there was no point in denying it. The incident has brought angry reaction from Romanian commentators who want to know why the government denied an attack so quickly and unequivocally and suspect an attempted cover-up. It is because you still live with the mindset of 30 years ago, when nothing existed that the great ruler did not want? Or was it just sheer stupidity? Defense analyst Andrei Lukapovsky said, referring to the era of communist rule. Okay, so the theory is right now that the Shahed drone was going to strike a Romanian port. The Ukrainians, obviously, Ukrainian port. Obviously, the Ukrainians don't want it to. They try to shoot it down. They possibly hit the drone. It then spirals out of control, enters Romanian territory, hits Romanian territory. This is why many people were scared when Romania started getting closer and closer and closer to the border when they were doing those strikes. I mean, sometimes strikes literally right on the border within Ukrainian territory. They're playing a risky game, risking bringing other people into the conflict or pushing Romanians or other people in other countries, if this was to happen, say, in Poland, because we all know about that big scandal last year about a possible Russian drone entering Polish airspace. That was a big scandal at the time. If this was to happen, this could, even though in most scenarios it probably most likely wouldn't spiral out into a gigantic security crisis, it could. It very well could. Imagine if this drone, which is now being confirmed to be a Russian drone, where last time that missile was not confirmed to be a Russian missile, when we're talking about Poland, had ended up hitting somewhere with a bunch of civilians, ended up killing some people, ended up hitting some hospital, ended up hitting some school, ended up killing some civilians. What would the Romanian government be doing now? I mean, their cover-up, A, would look much worse, and B, they would have to respond in some way. The cover-up here is what's very disgusting to me. Because not only is this saying that Ukraine's a bunch of liars, and they're lying about what happened, even though it is what happened, and we have evidence that this is what happened, but it's also lying to the Romanian people, whose security is under threat. If you live in these border regions in Romania, let's say you live in any of these villages on the border, like here or here, or any of these villages, they are disregarding your security just so they don't have a diplomatic incident with the Russians who just bombed them, even if it was on accident. Even if it was on accident. They should not be doing strikes in Ukraine, period. They shouldn't be invading Ukraine, period. But if they're doing strikes, doing them on the border of a NATO state like this, while talking about NATO's provocations in Russia. is absolutely, unbelievably dangerous and hypocritical, of course. The Romanian government cannot be trusted on telling the truth when it comes to Russian attacks going into their airspace. This also makes me think about other incidences that I've been told rumors of possible times that Russian drones may have entered their airspace or Russian weapons may have entered their airspace that was denied. But I hear from other people saying like, no, I saw it on the radar. I don't want to get too into the details, but I saw it on the radar. It did enter its territory. Now, of course, this is just testimony. This isn't overwhelming evidence. We didn't have photographic evidence. We didn't have video evidence. Whether the incident was true, or it was just a rumor, or it was just somebody just spreading rumors behind closed doors, we don't know. But we do know that this happened. We do know that a Russian drone struck Romania, a NATO member state. Period. End of paragraph. End of statement. For all of the yelling and the shouting from Russia of provocations against, of NATO provocations against them, we haven't bombed their territory. They have bombed ours. I would say that when it comes to provocations in relation to this war, this is about as bad as it can realistically get. And now Romania is in the tough decision of not only being caught in a cover-up scandal, and so quickly denying this before being humiliated by the Ukrainian government, who's had to live with this reality every day, but now is going to have to respond. The diplomatic incident just got 10 times worse for them. If they would have just been honest at the start about what happened and summoned the Russian ambassador, I think this incident probably would have been smaller than what it is now. Now that they've denied it, and now it has more levels of political scandal, it's only going to make the story that much bigger. But this is the problem with a Russian invasion of Ukraine. Not only, of course, with all the atrocities, all the deaths and destruction they've done in Ukraine, but this is something that also affects other European countries. I hear from people sometimes saying, you know, I feel for the Ukrainians, but ultimately, like, it's not our problem. This is how it is our problem. If they're willing to be this risky on the border, to attempt these things with NATO member states, to roll the dice on stuff like this, why would we think that they would stop here? Why would we think they wouldn't go into another state, another one that doesn't have NATO protection, like Moldova, which they already have 1,500 troops stationed in? Why would they not try something like this again? Hell, if the Romanian government is trying to cover up Russian drone strikes that entered their territory, what message does that send to the Russians? Oh, we can be as close to NATO's borders and bombing runs as we want to, and they won't respond? They won't even summon our ambassador, and they'll just deny it immediately? Are they scared? Are they scared of being honest about what we did? I wonder what we can get away with this. This was really stupid on the Romanian government, and could honestly end up encouraging the Russians to take more risky maneuvers like this in the future. They should have just been open, they should have just been transparent, and they shouldn't have lied to their people, and they shouldn't have tried to call Ukraine liars, because they turned it 180, they 180'd Uno carded, Uno, you know, the 180s, the Uno cards. I was a big Uno kid. They 180'd it, and now Romania is the one with egg on their face, even though they're the country that was bombed. I don't know how the Romanian government comes out of this looking this bad. Oh, my goodness. What a terrible, terrible, terrible decision.